I've got a couple students who are going to show you what dialogue looks like and what it doesn't look like. And so we have Derek and Laura who are going to come up over here. Yes, I like that. Let's give them a round of applause right at the very beginning. I love this. Okay? Now, Derek and Laura are role-playing a professor in a university in the United States. Okay? That's Laura. Derek over here is role-playing an exchange student from Finland. Go figure, Finland, right? Wow. An exchange student from Finland.
I only speak Finnish.
And they're going to do 3 short little scripts for you, okay? And in the first script, our student and professor are both standing their ground. Neither one of them are being open. What does that look like? It's not dialogue. What does that look like?
You are not participating in class. You have to speak up more.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Of course it does. I grade on participation. If you don't talk, you will fail the class.
We would never have this kind of policy in my country.
You are not in your country now.
Wish I was.
So what did we see there? What did we see? Somebody, what did you see? Go ahead. Saw tension, okay? Conflict, right? Right? Hostility, right? Maybe even just a tad bit of aggression there, okay? And both of them, you sort of feel like they were both going to dig in. I'm not gonna give in to you, and you're not going to give in to me, so here's where we are, right? The hostility, the aggression, the polarization. Both people are standing their ground really strong. Boy, I see that a lot. I turn on the news here in the United States and I'm watching politics. Geez, that's pretty typical, right? That's pretty typical. But you know, you can fall out of dialogue by being too open, not standing your ground. I wonder what that looks like.
I would really like to talk to you about class. Is that okay?
Yes, what would you like to talk about?
I'm not sure how to put this. I don't want to be insensitive or hurt your feelings.
That is so nice of you, but I don't want to have my feelings hurt either.
Oh, well, it's not really important. Let's just forget it.
You know what? That works for me as well.
I mean, boy, nobody's standing their ground. They're both being so nice to the other person. There's an issue the professor wants to talk about, never gets talked about. Avoid, 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 right? Can we be too nice? Can we be too accommodating? We can, and we don't stand our ground. That didn't look like dialogue to me. But what happens when both participants try to find that middle place? Try to find that balance, standing their ground and being open to the other. What does that look like?
I don't know. No.
We'll show you. I would like to talk to you about your performance in class. Is that okay?
Yes, I'd appreciate you taking the time to give me feedback.
I know that you're from Europe, and I'm guessing that you've learned expectations for how to act appropriately in a college classroom.
I guess I have, but I've never really thought about it.
That's understandable. Here in the United States, it is fairly common for professors to require students to participate verbally in class, to speak up. The reason is that we believe it helps students learn.
That's very interesting, eh? When I think of learning, I think of a student sitting quietly and concentrating on the lecture or the book.
Well, that's part of learning too, but so is talking and interacting with the professor and other students, which brings me to your performance in class. What do you think of your verbal participation?
I don't think I've said one word all semester, but I have to tell you, I'm learning a lot though.
Excellent. I wonder how much more you would learn if you spoke up once in a while. I think your fellow students would also benefit from hearing your views. There's also the matter of your grade. Part of it is based on participation points.
It's going to be a little difficult for me. It's not what I expected. I'm also a little self-conscious, as you can tell, of my English language skills. But part of the reason I came to the United States was to broaden my perspective, so I'll give it a try.
Okay, what can I do to help you?
Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Laura. That's great. So what we find is the professor being able to express her view and being able to communicate her concern about the student's participation in class, but doing so in a way that enables her to stand her ground, but also be open to the student. And we find the student who's trying to be open to the professor, but also standing his ground. I have to tell you, I'm learning a lot in class, even though I'm not participating, right? So standing his ground. So this gets us closer to what dialogue looks like. On the back of your agenda, what you have is, in the box below, you have the actual script, the dialogue script, that Laura and Derek just performed for you. So there it is. And now above that are 3 different scenarios and then a 4th option. And so now we're going to move into our 3rd and final small group activity. And your task in this small group activity is going to be a little different than the first 2. In this activity, your facilitator is going to help you first choose one of those 4 scenarios. And each one of those scenarios has a difference involved in it. There's something of potential conflict between the participants. And your job in this small group activity is to create a script similar to what we just read, similar to the one in the box below, that shows what it would look like if the participants in the scenario enacted a dialogue. Not a non-dialogue, but what if they were able to stay in the tension between standing their ground and being open to the other? What would it look like? You can try your hand at creating a script. It doesn't have to be long, it could be short. What are those 4 scenarios? Scenario number 1, a Finnish person and a local Bay Area person who are not students do not know each other, and they have just met at a social gathering. The Bay Area person is being very friendly and demonstrative with lots of smiling, eye contact, gestures. The Finnish person is being very reserved, stoic, matter-of-fact, showing little emotion, little nonverbal behavior. The Bay Area person perceives the Finnish person to be unfriendly. The Finnish person perceives the Bay Area person, here in San Francisco Bay Area, to be overly friendly, too friendly. What if they were to talk about this difference? What would it look like if they had a dialogue where both of them could be in the tension between standing their ground and being open? That's one option. Here's another option. Option 2. 2 San Jose State students, undergraduate students, both are seniors, are in a class together and they're both talking about their involvement in campus activities. One of the students transferred here to San Jose State from a local community college and has never been involved in any campus activities. This student commutes to campus, they arrive for their classes, and they leave immediately after. We actually have a word for this kind of student, a commuter student. The other student started here as a freshman, lived in the dorms, the dormitories for the first 2 years, and is involved in several campus organizations, clubs, very active on campus. What would happen if these 2 students had a conversation about their difference? What would that look like if they had a dialogue? The 3rd one is an organizational communication scenario. There's an employee at Nokia, which is, I should get that right, an international high-tech company, we know that, has a large sales office here in Sunnyvale, has just been called into his or her boss's office because the boss received a complaint from a customer about this employee. The employee was born in India, is a modestly successful salesperson, and was recently hired by Nokia after several years at another high-tech company. The boss was born in Finland and has been with the company for his or her entire career. What happens when that employee comes into the boss's office and they have this conversation about the customer complaint? How do they do that in a way that demonstrates dialogue? That's, if you choose that scenario, that's what your group activity will do. Now the 4th option here is you choose, right? As a group, you can choose a scenario that's not one of these 3. You can come up with your own scenario. The key, it has to involve a difference of some sort or another, okay? And your task in the group is to create a script similar to this script, right, for one of these scenarios. And here's the fun part about this. I'm going to ask for some volunteers. Not everybody gets to go, but we saw Derek and Laura do such a great job demonstrating that dialogue script. We're going to give some of you a chance to come up and demonstrate your dialogue script in response to one of these scenarios. So how does that sound? Does that make sense for everybody going forward here? Okay, everybody good? Good going forward? Excellent, excellent, excellent. If you have any questions, I'm here, available to answer those. Your facilitator, of course, will be able to help as well. And then Professor Holopanian, Mina is here as well, and she can answer any questions about this. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time in your group to do this. So you don't need to rush through this. You do need to be able to write down the script so the volunteers can come up and role play it. You saw Derek and Laura, they had the written script, right? We've got some pen and paper if you need that. So it might be good to assign somebody to write down the script. And the rest of you just generate ideas, right? Let's just take that first example. What does the Bay Area person say to the Finnish person? How do they start the conversation? What's the first speech act? Start there and go from there, right? Okay, so you're in the hands of your facilitators. Have at it. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes, no more than 25 minutes for this activity.